Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the BuzzStream Podcast. My name's Vince Nero, and today I am thrilled to be joined by Linda Zebian. She is the VP of Comms at Muckrack. How you doing, Linda?
Hey, Vince. How are you? I'm doing great. Happy to be here.
So glad you could join us. There's a lot that, Muckrack has been doing, and I'm a big fan of all the great data that you are putting out. And today I wanted to really dig into some of these reports. And I mean, you have such a fascinating background. You were New York Times, you were corporate comms for a long time. So I want to be able to share this stuff with our listeners. Before we get into this, I just want to remind everyone to like, subscribe, share this stuff with your colleagues. The more you do, the more I can have great guests on like Linda. Let's get into this. There's you have so many studies. There's three main ones I wanted to talk about today, and I'm going to be sharing these in the post notes and everything, but state of journalism, that's one you do every year. State of PR, you also do that every year, right?
Yep.
And then the newer one, what is AI reading? And that one in particular has kind of taken a life of its own online. I feel like it's been pretty hot, obviously, with the advent of AI and how everybody wants to get in AI citations and whatnot. I want to kind of pull back, start a little bit at the state of journalism, because there are so many takeaways in that. It's maybe like a 50 question survey that goes out to a couple thousand journalists. And the biggest, well, not the biggest, one of the big takeaways for me is that journalists are receiving more pitches per day year over year. So let's just start there. What's your take on this influx of pitching? Why is it happening? And what can we learn from this?
Well, I will say that it seems like every year we do this survey that this number increases. And I think it's multifaceted, the reason. First of all, the pool of journalists and the pool of media outlets is contracting, right? It costs a lot of money to create news and information and put it out there. And you're seeing newsrooms cut jobs and shutter what seems like all the time. So as that contracts, PR folks are left with fewer and fewer journalists to reach out to. So therefore, naturally you're going to get more pitches if you are one of the few journalists who are lucky enough to be left. And I also think that PR folks, it seems, I don't think that there are more PR folks than before, but I do think that that ratio of, we haven't looked at this number in a few years, but the last time we studied it, maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the ratio between PR and journalism was 6-1. So 6 PR people professionally. Wow. I think it was census data that we were looking at. Six PR people to every one journalist. So there you have it. So that's probably why. I mean, there's an the increase in what we say probably podcasters and sort of these new media types, and also you've got like content creators or influencers, which allows, I think, an expansion or a stretch of where PR folks can send their pitches, which I think is a great thing. And then you have a lot of journalists who maybe are not working in traditional newsrooms, who are launching Substacks or their own independent newsletters, which is another great thing too. But I still think, the bulk of it is just a lack of journalists, actively working journalists.
Yeah. I mean, you touch on a handful of things there. One, and I've tried to do this on my own, like this using census data to kind of like track just like journalist drop off over time. Right. I've tried that. And I've tried BLS, like the Freedom of Information requests, and both of them have come back and been like, wow, we don't really do a great job of tracking this. So I can't really, there's a like a data company, I'm totally blanking. The name inside the name is like Christmas. It's like Christmas and Gray or something. I'm totally probably butchering this, but they did. And I've seen this on I think it was Press Gazette reported on this, on like the decline of journalists or the increase of journalist layoffs over the years. That's like and it stopped in like 2023. And that was like the most recent I could find. But yeah, I mean, definitely like we've seen this in the news. There, and part of it seems to be AI is driving the redundancies. But on the other hand, it's just like, AI is taking a lot of traffic away, right, from these publishers, from these news sites. So there maybe isn't as, there's not enough ad money coming in, and that's also causing part of it.
Well, right.
Is
I
that
mean,
kind of, yeah.
yeah, I mean, you have to look at where people are where people are consuming news. I mean, the vast majority of folks are getting their news on social platforms now. So,
Just kind of the third one there. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I think the other challenge too is like, where are these social influencers getting their news? If there is no reporter on the ground offering a independent view, or wearing a press vest, bulletproof vest in a war zone, reporting, who's going to give you that information, right? And bias is a whole nother conversation, but still, like, who's going to be your eyewitness to what's going on? So I think it's an ecosystem, and if you pull one piece out of an ecosystem, the future is bleak. So
Yeah, yeah. And I will say, from my perspective, I think there are a good amount of people uh, from like kind of the link building SEO world that are kind of jumping into digital PR, the quote unquote digital PR, like head first, because of all the news. I mean, Muckrack reporting itself, it's like getting coverage in high end news publications is something that is highly correlated to showing up in AI citations. So people are drawn to it like a, light, like the big mosquito lights,
yeah, no, and I'm very curious to see how the whole thing shakes out. Like the lawsuits between the New York Times and OpenAI, for example. Like, are the LLMs going to pay the news publishers for the content that they cite every single day, all day long, at every millisecond, or not? Because what does that mean? Like, and they have the same issue when Google came out, and all the traffic was going to Google, and all the ad dollars were going to Google instead of the news sites, and the news sites are struggling, and they're the ones paying for armored cars and all of these things. And Google gets all the money. So, and all the eyeballs, because that, they're all connected. So I think it'll be interesting to where it shakes out, because if 95% of citations, LLM answers, are coming from unpaid sources, and then 30% of those are journalistic. So a third of your citations are journalistic, and LLMs are relying so heavily on credible news outlets for their information. What happens if that stops happening? You know what I mean? If news stops flowing through because there's nobody like available to pay journalists a salary. Just what happens to, like, it's just, these are the questions that we asked ourselves at the New York Times, and I still believe in, and I think like, person to person, what does that mean at the end of the day? It means pay for your news.
Right.
Subscribe to something.
Right. I was
Subscribe for
just
Netflix, subscribe and pay for your news. Somebody has to create that for you.
right. Go directly to these sources.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't use the aggregators. Yeah. I mean, it is weird to be in our position, I think, because, I saw someone talking about this on LinkedIn the other day. It's like, oh, here's how the best way to get around a paywall. It's like, you bite the hand that feeds you,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a bedrock of our democracy, a free press. And so when you start to take that for granted, I think that folks take it for granted, and they don't realize how lucky we are to have a free and independent press, particularly in this country, and what it means when you don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is pretty amazing. And we'll kind of see where these things shake out. I want to stick on the state of journalism here. I'm going to ask one more kind of follow-up question. Then we could switch over to the AI one, because I do think there are some more like bigger issues that we can dig into there. But so we have pool of journalists dropping off. We got an influx of people in PR sending more pitches per day. And the other thing we're seeing here is half of the journalists say that they never or seldom or never receive relevant PR pitches. I found that fascinating. I mean, that's kind of been the standard kind of go-to messaging for me and for what we do at BuzzStream is like I just give a big talk about this at a SEO conference and like the need to pitch relevant content. But it seems so obvious. Why do you think this is such a big problem still?
I think that there are a handful of bad actors and folks who are not putting priority on quality pitching and making big promises that they can't deliver on, and ba- uh, placing their bets on number of pitches sent versus number of stories secured. And so pitch houses exist, right? PR agencies that are known as to be pitch houses. So, like when you're first graduating from college and, people know who they are, like, they'll do anything to sign the contract, to get the brand to sign with them. You've got somebody who doesn't quite know how the sausage is made, how a news story gets made, and how PR actually works and media relations actually work. They overpromise and they, work the junior PR people really hard. And they say you have to send X amount of pitches to X amount of journalists, and that's how they're measured on performance. Um, does mass pitching, if you pitch 1,300 creators and journalists the same story, will it potentially increase your potential to get a response? Maybe. Does it feel right? No. Does it hurt your reputation with the rest? Yeah. And your reputation goes with you, not just from the brand that you're working at or the agency you're working at, but it goes with you as you move through your career as well. I mean, for my communications team, if we don't feel like we are like 60 to 70% sure this pitch will land, we don't pitch. Our time is much more valuable doing other things than pitching.
Yeah, and I want to jump now to the state of PR one because one of these things stood out to me. It was about so it was kind of a graph, a bar graph, looking at the amount of pitches PR send per campaign,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was about 3/4 of the PRs in this PR pros pitch fewer than 50 journalists per campaign. Um, that I mean, even in like the digital PR world, I feel like that is very low. Obviously, like I think that's where it needs to be, and like our data definitely shows it. Like those pitches, those campaigns always do a lot better from open rates, reply rates, overall links and coverage. But that's still wild to me that a majority of PR pros are sending fewer than that. I mean, what do you feel like that is realistic in terms of what the average PR firm kind of does these days?
I don't know. I don't have like insights into what the average PR firm is putting out. I think that PR firms do a heck of a lot more than pitching and aren't always given the credit that for what they do in terms of the creative work that they produce and these kind of 360 campaigns that they do. I mean, I've judged some award competitions where I've seen anonymous submissions that are incredible. And these PR teams, like there are some PR agencies that just knock it out of the park, and they're so, I'm not sure, but I love to see a low number. And in Muckrack, we have we have lots of checks and balances in the Muckrack system, so that all of our customers and users understand how many people they're pitching and like every time. So it's like, we'll stop you and say, you're about to pitch X number of people. Are you sure you want to send this pitch? Every time you pitch a Muckrack. Because our philosophy is you should not pitch that. You should always be very mindful of how you pitch because our customers are not only PR folks, but we have thousands of journalists using our platform as well because we started as a journalist platform and we still have thousands of them using it as profile journalist portfolios. So it's a journalist tool as well. So our goal is to have community, not to spam journalists. So even when I send one pitch in Muckrack, the little pop-up comes up and says, are you sure you're about to send one pitch to one journalist? Are you sure? And it's automated and it's automatic, but it's good. It reminds you of what you're doing and helps you be a little more conscious of your actions. Because email addresses are valuable. Like that's somebody's personal email. Like not it's professional, but like you know what I mean. So
Yeah.
I think that I think it's good. The lower the number, the better, because it means it's targeted. It means it's specified to that specific journalist based on what they cover, what they're interested in, what their audience wants to read. Because there's no way if you're pitching over 50 journalists that story is right for all 50 of them. Sorry.
Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. We don't, clearly we're on the same page with this. We don't have to belabor this too much. I mean, I think one of the interesting pieces of this is, so like you mentioned, I think it was reputation, right? Like your reputation as a PR professional is at stake. And these big pitch houses, like, you're a junior employee, you're only, you're looked at for quantity, you're just kind of spitting out emails. You don't really necessarily care about your reputation. And I know a lot of people talk about kind of this building relationships in PR. And I was only recently kind of told that was kind of a fluffy term, right? By, if a lot of PR people hear that and they're like, all right, roll their eyes at it. But what I was,
Really?
well,
That's upsetting.
I think the thing is framing it as, instead of building relationships, it's like building trust, right? Where when people hear building relationships, they think, I got to go take everybody out to coffee. And like, that's not really the age we live in these days. It's more so like you want to establish yourself in someone's inbox where they see Vince Nero or Linda Zebian and say, okay, I at least know this person is legit. Like it might not, doesn't mean they're going to cover you just because they know who you are. But you at least have established that trust and kind of get an extra eyeball, a couple seconds of
Sure.
consideration,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Absolutely. Yes, of course. When you see a familiar name, yeah.
Well, so tell me,
Yeah.
tell me about the reputation thing too, because I think that the toughest thing for a lot of, especially agencies and these big PR firms, to kind of rankle with is like, they have quotas, right? They have to get out a certain amount of coverage. They have to get a certain amount of emails, like you said, like, so they don't necessarily care about the repercussions. So I don't know, like, what is the mindset shift that has to be done? What is the message that has to go out to help
Yeah, I
people
mean, I
kind
think
of,
I just think it's sad, frankly, that those like I get the need for, putting almost anything in a contract to get a contract signed. If it's pitch quota, that's just sad. That's just so sad to me. Coverage is one thing. If you can try to link coverage to, campaigns or launches or something, that's one thing. That's a normal KPI. But it is relationship building. It is not just trust. It is relationship building. And what I mean by relationship building, I mean reaching out to a journalist when you have nothing to say to them, that you have nothing to sell them. That is sales 101. That is, hey, I saw your great piece on the new, sneakers today. And I just wanted to say, like, the way you described the laces was really cool and I enjoyed it and I shared it with my friend. Or, hey, I saw there were layoffs at your publication today and I just wanted to reach out to say, I'm thinking of you and let me know if I can support you in any way. That is building a relationship and a rapport with somebody, nor is it
right?
taking them out to coffee, by the way.
There's a middle ground.
There is a middle ground.
So,
And I get the trust thing, especially in the AI world where like everything is spam and trash and whatever they slop. I get that whole thing, but there's absolutely relationship building in PR. And I completely disagree with anybody who says otherwise.
well, I think the pushback is like they don't have time, and I've seen people say this on like Twitter or something. It's like they don't have time to read your email that's not necessarily pitching them something. And honestly, I've heard both sides of it. But I mean, what is your take on that? Like, if
No,
people don't
they
have
don't
it,
have time. But what they do, what they might have time to do is read a subject line that says, "Hey, saw the news about the layoffs. Hope you're okay."
right? Right.
And even if they don't respond, they saw it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this then. How, when it comes into like personalizing an email, right, and getting a personal, relevant email out to a journalist, I mean, do you recommend the like, hey, I saw you posted this story the other day. I'm sharing a similar story. Like connecting the dots that closely, is that something that's relevant, or is that something that's useful, or is it like they don't care? Because I've heard both sides of that too. It's like the
Yeah, no.
journalists don't have time for that. The fake flattery kind of thing, even if
Yeah,
it's not
no, because
fake, it
that's
can seem that way,
yeah,
right?
well, you're still pitching them. You're still have a motive there. That doesn't feel genuine. You're still going at them for something.
Interesting. Do you still find that most PR professionals are reaching out to people they don't know? Is it just because they have new industries, new clients, and that just happens to be what it is?
I think that it's both ways. I think that you absolutely, there are times where you have to reach out to a reporter you've never worked with before. But I think that how you do that is you acknowledge, hey, we've never worked together before, but I have. I'm working with a new client, or I'm working on a new brand, and I have this news, or I would like to introduce you. I'd like to do a introduce you to the CEO of X company, and this is why. And I think that that's completely normal and appropriate. They understand what your motive is. But I think that what I'm talking about is building human connection,
Right.
and humanizing yourself, and also empathizing with them. You're probably getting paid more than them. You're probably have a better work-life balance than them, according to all of our data.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because we do have two set work-life balance studies of PR and journalists. So just, building human connection really does go a long way with these folks.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, it speaks to kind of my mantra for any of the like outreach I've ever done or like training people is like, if you received this email, how would you feel? Right. Like putting yourself in the journalist's shoes. I think that's such a powerful mindset shift. All right, Linda, I want to get back to the AI stuff because obviously that's the big thing everybody's talking about today. Um, so you had this you have a new tool, the generative pulse tool at Muckrack, and kind of part of that release, you released this, what is AI reading, which is a great big study that I recommend everybody check out. And you hit on some of these stats earlier. 27% of all the citations you're seeing are journalistic in nature. That bumps up to about 50% when the query talks about something that has some type of recency. So like rental car shortages in the past couple months, whatever. And that in itself it's a good thing on one side, but it's a big problem on the other side. I want to kind of speak more of the opportunistic, kind of strategic piece of this, right? So I think what most people have jumped to is okay, and this is why I think we're seeing a lot more people jumping into the digital PR thing. Like I said, is okay. Now I need to really put the pedal to the metal here and trying to get more citations, more mentions from these news publications. Um, does that mean people should forget about the smaller niche sites, these blogs that aren't news publications? How does that? How do you talk about that strategy wise when you're talking with people about these studies and using generative pulse and whatnot?
I mean, it's actually quite the opposite. So well, I should say it's both. You, of course, still want to get into like the big, Reuters, FTs of the world. Those stories certainly do resonate in AI generated answers, but AI also rewards niche specific outlets tons in our research. So I think it was like Nerd Wallet and gosh, what were some of the other ones?
Yeah, you had a great there's an industry breakdown.
Yeah,
I feel like
industry
Lewis
breakdown.
get into
Depending
it,
on the
right? Yeah, yeah.
industry, it was like, gosh, I'm trying to remember. Like, I just remember, like Good Housekeeping was an example. RadioKing.com in media and entertainment was one I remember. Um, TVtechnology.com was one in tech I remember. Like Tech Target in the tech
TikTok,
space.
yeah, I remember seeing TikTok a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah, yeah. So like if you think about it, um like it really like those niche outlets, those are like the bread and butter of certain industries. So they are really experts on what they do. So if you're in travel, your travel writers, your travel blogs, I say blogs lightly, you know what I mean by blogs. They're like small sites that are just only write about travel. If you're in ChatGPT and you're looking for best tips for X, Y, and Z, they probably aren't going to go to a big giant news site that sometimes writes about travel. They're going to go to like the travel experts to pull from. So that makes a lot of sense. So you really, what does it mean for PR people? It means keep doing what you're doing. Target your trades, target your newsletter writers, target your, big massive outlets when it makes sense. Doesn't mean your strategy should necessarily shift, but it just means it's another insights channel that you can rely on to look and analyze data. And that's what generative post essentially does, is it allows you to understand your brand, your competitive brands, look at them in a dashboard, understand your visibility over time, all of those things, understand the outlets, the journalists, down to frankly, the domain, even if it's not a media outlet, like a Wikipedia or, a Reddit or whatever, understand who the writers are that are influencing your LLM outputs, and then you're able to contact them directly in generative polls, which is cool. So that's the future. It still doesn't change what you're doing, right? You're still telling stories. You're still being an authoritative voice, still building messaging for your brand, still targeting journalists, still writing credible, narratives. All of those things are still the same, which is great. And for all of those people trying to like sell PR people, I just have to say, like, we can see through you. You denied us. You denied us for many years. We were ignored by anyone trying to sell marketers. So we've been working and we've been doing this job a long time. It doesn't change necessarily what we're doing, but it empowers us to keep doing it and doing it better. It helps us get a bigger central seat at that executive table. It gives us metrics that are usable, transferable, understandable. So it's all good for PR people right now. I think it's the marketers that are scrambling.
Yeah, I I think you're totally right there. I mean, I had another question, but honestly, that was such a good little wrap up. I feel like we should end it there, Linda.
Right.
Is there
Well,
anything? Is there anything I didn't ask in this? Is there anything, any takeaways that you had from these studies? Yeah, if you were in my seat, like, what should I be asking you? What did I miss?
I think that there's an element of for PR folks to understand is there's an element of earned that a lot of folks don't realize that they could be targeting as well, which is sort of the corporate blogs and content piece of it that is not paid, that is not traditional journalism. So like at Muckrack, I'm doing this podcast with you. This is a kind of a piece of we would call corporate content, meaning you're not necessarily a journalist, but you create content for a company that you run, right? So that has value for the LLMs as well. So like, or if a PR agency writes about Muckrack, that's a piece of like valid a corporate blog that validates Muckrack as a great tool. That's showing up in the LLMs as well. So that's another kind of like you're talking about content marketers essentially. So make relationships with content marketers, build relationships with your partners, and build content out there that the LLMs can scrape, because it's not journalistic, but it's authoritative. It makes sense. It's written in the right way. It's got that hierarchy of information. It's super searchable, super scrapable. Do it. Why not? And sometimes it's paid. Like I talked to some folks in consumer CPGs, like sometimes if you're talking about like Target or something, they won't put like you on Target.com if you're like trying to sell basketballs. I think that's like a totally different thing. I think that's like a paid relationship thing or a
Right.
partnership you have to have in place. But hey, there might be like if you work in travel and like visit Florida.com might be interested in writing about you. That's maybe not a journalist. It's maybe a content marketer that works for the bureau, for the tourism bureau. They, reach out to them, see if they want to write about, your flip-flops brand. Why not? You never know. There's lots of opportunities to partner up with folks. So don't just limit yourselves to journalists traditionally.
Yeah, I love it. And that's probably where everybody should be going to is just this kind of cross disciplinary, like, the marketers and the PR people and the SEO people, everybody's got to play nicely together. And I think hopefully we're moving a little closer to
we
that.
can. We're all the same folks. Anyway, we're all storytellers. We're all telling stories. So
yeah. All right, Linda, this has been great. Thanks so much for coming on. I really appreciate it. Linda, where can people connect with you if they want to see what you're talking about, what you're working on?
They can connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very active there, or they can send me an email at linda@muckrack.com anytime. Happy to.
Awesome. Well, like I said, reminder to like, subscribe. But if you have questions about this stuff, you have questions for Linda, email her, hit her up on LinkedIn, but you can also comment on our video, comment on the LinkedIn posts and stuff. I am very active on there, and I'll be posting clips and stuff from this awesome talk. So thanks again, Linda. This has been great. Tell your dog we said thanks for the special appearance. Check out all the great content that Muckrack is putting out.
Thank you, Vince.
Thanks, Linda.